Hi, I'm Nathan. I love to optimize health, mindset, dopamine stimulation, and utilize business systems to grow businesses fast.
Okay, so today we are with Nathan Baws, and you have been on Shark Tank, and you are a serial entrepreneur, and you're into health, and you have a few amazing products specifically about people struggling with dopamine addiction or lack of dopamine. Is that more correct?
Yeah. And just how to utilize dopamine to get what you want out of business in particular. That's my little angle. Yeah.
Okay. So just so that I understand better, like what are, dead giveaways for people who are really struggling with their dopamine levels?
Yeah, well, I love to use it for elevating the mood, elevating the energy, and sort of honing your concentration a lot. And I mean, the majority of the world, or almost the majority of the world, are on antidepressants. You know, antidepressants are massive. It's a huge industry. I don't know what the stats are, but they're pretty outrageous of how many people rely on medications these days just for mood elevation. My background's in health. I used to be a naturopath and I run different programs. One of them actually is a weight loss program in Bali. And the mindset for weight loss and achieving the outcomes you want with your body is really, really important. And dopamine's a huge part of that. So if we can modulate, regulate our dopamine levels, it's just phenomenal what you can achieve and how you feel and the love and the passion that you'll have in your life for what you're doing. So there's a whole bunch of strategies and techniques that I love to use, which I'm happy to chat about today, if that's you want to go down that track to stimulate dopamine and just to and I do it just for business. That's my main love. So everything that I do, whether it's exercise or mindset stuff or business strategy systems or dopamine stimulation, the end result is always business growth. That's what I want to get out of it.
Yeah, so you already sold me because you just hit the nail on the head. I've struggled with weight loss, and I have a lot of issues, less so today, but with low energy. I used to have PTSD, and I just have no energy to take care of myself. And right now, I'm working with a coach for nutrition reasons, and he raised my protein by a lot, and
Awesome.
and just by doing that, I felt so much better, so much more
Yes.
energy.
Yes.
Today I'm way more active. I'm much more healthier, but I still get those ups and downs
Yep.
of energy. Those like I've been actually scratching my head, like not understanding, is it my hormone levels, is it my diet, what the hell is wrong with me? So you really like I think I'm your ideal audience here.
Awesome.
I really would love to learn like so much more about this, but maybe before we get into details, can you share a little bit more about how you even got into this? Because I'm sure there's a story behind it, something that drove you to focus on this.
Yeah, my background's, as I say, in health as a naturopath, and I think that stemmed from my rather alternative hippie mum who brought us up. And I always judge a hippie based on the amount of alfalfa sprouts that they consume. That's my level of hippiness. And hers was right up there. So she was a big alfalfa sprout fan. So we were brought up on health and nutrition and going to naturopaths. And then that was sort of what got me into the health side of things and learning all about health. I went into the keto space in particular, and I was getting amazing results in clinical practice with ketogenic weight loss programs, which is kind of what you touched on, increasing your protein. And actually, even more than that, you have to increase your fats, healthy fats, which is very strange in the food pyramid traditional concept where they say keep your fats low and they eat a massive amount of carbohydrates, which is just absolutely freaking crazy, because all these carbohydrates in our body are causing you to be with your energy to fluctuate up and down throughout the day. And we have a massive epidemic of sugar abundance. It's way, way too much. 10,000 years ago, since the agricultural age, we got really amazing at creating crops, farming, and producing really prolific amounts of grain. Because prior to that, the hunter and gatherer kind of lifestyle was all about meat and seeds and berries, which was 100% keto. Like there was no grains. And it's a phenomenal way to be because you can live in a jungle. You can be super active. You can go and chase after an animal and hit it over its head and drag it back to the campsite. And you've got the energy to do that because we're not filling ourselves with all this rubbish that we are today. And in Australia, to give you some stats, the average consumption of sugar is 14 teaspoons per day. Which alone in my mind is just mind-blowing because I don't touch sugar at all, haven't for many, many years. So it is possible, guys. You can actually live without sugar. In America, it's about 34 teaspoons per day. All right. So insane amounts of sugar that people are consuming, absolutely horrifying amounts. So with all this sugar, and then we're eating all these carbohydrates on top of it. So we're eating things like rice and bread and pasta and alcohol and fruit. All these things are converted to sugar. So not only are we eating these piles of sugar, we're eating these carbohydrates that are converted to sugar. And every time that touches our lips, our bodies start producing insulin. And insulin becomes overused and our poor little pancreases start wearing out. We get things like diabetes and heart disease and cancer as a result. So there's these systemic problems that are stemming from sugar imbalances, and our diets and lifestyles are just conducive to disease states. And I think we have to just stop and say, hang on a sec, guys, look, let's logically look at this, our diets, and start pulling all this rubbish out of it and give our pancreas a bit of a break. Because not only is that affecting things like our energy fluctuations throughout the day, but we're also getting mood swings and flatness and depression and anxiety, massive, massive amounts around the world of these problems. So in answer to your original question, Simon, if you're not sure what's impacting on your energy, I would say 99.99% it will be what's going past your lips. That makes the biggest difference.
Yeah, so the last time that I checked, and I researched this a little bit, I think in the States, around 70% of people in general are diagnosed with some sort of anxiety disorder, and around 50% of people are diagnosed with some sort of depression. I'm not sure if that necessarily means that all of those people are on antidepressants or some sort of medication, but I'm sure that way too many of them are. And yeah, like, you know, as a guy who works with men on their feelings, on their emotions, on their mindset as well for a living, I see, you know, a lot of modern medicine, they cover up root issues. They're not equipped to really solve the problem, so they give you medication. Now on one hand, I understand it because, you know, we need a solution. There's, you know, of course the food is terrible, but you know, there's a mental health epidemic in the world, in the Western modern world. And I think a lot of the solutions that people are using today, you know, a traditional psychiatry and so forth, is like a mass produced kind of band-aid. For it has a lot of you know, it's better than nothing. But I think that we're getting to the point as a as a collective, as humanity, where we're, understanding that there's more that we can do than this. One of it is, of course, changing how we eat, and doing away with the garbage that companies are selling to us, including them over medicating us and stuffing us with cheap, sprayed crops
Yeah.
and sugar and all these bad things. So I'm on board. Um, so how can I, okay, maybe we can talk first about the diet, what you
Mhm.
recommend, and then you can give us maybe a few other tips about dopamine in general.
Yeah, sure. Love to. And yeah, so over the years, we've been conditioned by genetics, as in and genetics, by the way, is another subject, but it gets blamed for so much. And it's absolute rubbish. The fact is that we're genetically predispositioned to disease because we eat exactly the freaking same way as our parents ate. I mean, it's kind of obvious, right? The biggest factor that affects our health is what passes our lips. Again, super, super obvious, but we miss this point so often. And you're right, we have to go and rely on the doctor to take a script to fix a problem. And sometimes, absolutely, I have no issue with that. As you say, there's a time and a place. If you get your arm cut off, you go to the doctor, and you're not going to go to someone to tell you about your diet. It's kind of irrelevant. But the fact is that food is the biggest influencer of our body health. I mean, nothing gets as close to our body as the air that we breathe and the food that we eat. So there's a logical step that it's going to be impacting on our health. It just goes without saying. I mean, now they're relating things like schizophrenia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's disease, as well as the obvious ones like cancer, heart disease, and diabetes, all related to a high excessive consumption of carbohydrates. So when we hone in on a drug, that's fine symptomatically, but you're forgetting that your body isn't just an individual. We don't have just a heart that just works on its own and a pancreas that works on its own. We have an amazingly sophisticated machine that all interacts, every aspect interacts with another aspect of your body. So you can't just fix one area because the rest of it's going to be missing out. It's not going to be addressed. So, so how do we change? How do we make these changes? Well, I think looking at your carbohydrate intake is definitely the majority. I mean, the original food pyramids, and this is hilarious. When I was at college studying natural medicine, I was having a look at this food pyramid, and it had up the top, eat small amounts of chocolates and chips and lollies. And I thought, what the heck? Why would you even put that on a food pyramid of healthy eating? It just shouldn't even be on in the mindset at all. And I turned it over, and it says in small print down the bottom, produced and sponsored by Cadbury's chocolate. So it was just an eye-opening moment that I thought, oh my goodness, you got to start questioning where this information is coming from, where we're being trained and who's behind it and what they've got to make out of it, because everything's monetary driven. So so looking at this food pyramid with lots and lots of carbohydrates down the bottom of it with huge amounts in the diet, and the fact that the diabetes associations are still recommending large amounts of carbohydrates, which again is kind of weird considering the pancreas is the one that has to deal with all these carbohydrates in our body, and that we need to be reducing them to reduce the burden of the pancreas in diabetes. So looking at your carb intakes is really, really important. And if we minimize that, increase your proteins, increase your healthy fats. So your proteins are things like fish and eggs and meat and nuts and seeds. And then the oils are things like avocado and coconut oil and flaxseed, linseed. These are really, really good oils. These oils are fantastic for killing that craving that you get when you get hungry and you get sweet cravings. your cravings basically happen when your blood sugar levels hit a low point and your body's telling you to top up, obviously, on sugar. So if we have more fats in our diet, we actually kill those cravings, and it helps keep the blood sugar a lot more stable. And with stable sugar, you get more energy and better mindset, better mental clarity, and a whole bunch of other things, minimized anxiety, better elevation of moods, more dopamine optimization. So there are a few of the little things that we can do to,
What about the oil from like peanut butter, but without added sugar? Like what else do you have? The one you bought, Simon, the butter,
Almond
uh,
butter.
almond
almond
butter.
butter, great. Fantastic source of fats, really high in fats, healthy fats, and it's got the protein. Personally, I've overdone the nuts in the past a little bit, but when you do eat nuts, small amounts of nuts, because they still are quite carby, but things like almonds quite good. Peanuts are okay as long as you don't have any candida or bloating issues, because they have a bit of a bacteria with them. But macadamias are great, and almonds in general are pretty good nuts, high in fat. And mixed nuts are quite good because they give you a broader spectrum of protein and amino acids. But small amounts. Seeds are the next level. Seeds are absolutely phenomenal for energy and for bowel cleansing and for blood sugar stability. So every day I'll eat a big bowl of seeds. I roast sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, shredded coconut, linseed, and there's one other seed, chia seeds. And I throw them all in a bowl, and I put some protein powder and coconut milk together, some coconut yogurt on top, and some MCT oil. And you've got a phenomenal, powerful snack that tastes amazing. I know I'm a bit weird, but I get really excited about my bowl of seeds every day. I don't get out much, so that to me is pretty entertaining. But it's fantastic. It tastes awesome. I love it. It gives me that sweet hit through the protein powder, because there's a little bit of, usually they're a vegan-based pea protein powder sweetened with either erythritol or xylitol or stevia. All really good sweeteners that don't affect your blood sugar levels, but give you that sweet flavor on your tongue. And that's great. So they're the sort of foods that you should be incorporating into your diet on a regular basis. And it's amazing how different 2 days is all it takes for you to make a massive change in your energy, your mood, your cravings. It takes 2 days to go into ketosis when you take sugar out of your body. And ketosis is a beautiful state. I've been in ketosis for 5, almost 6 years, and I measure myself on this little thing. I have it sitting on my desk, this little keto breath analyzer, and it just checks your level of ketones in your breath. And ketones are a magical little thing that come out of when you take out carbohydrates out of your body looks for another source of fuel, and it starts to break down fat tissue. And this is fantastic for weight loss. But when fat tissue is broken down, it releases ketones into your bloodstream, and they make you feel really, really good. They help with dopamine elevation. They make you feel happy, and they give you an amazing sense of awareness, and they give you better mental clarity, and they kill your appetite. So it means you can go longer without eating and rest your digestive system. We're so used to eating crap 5 times a day, constantly eating, and our digestive systems aren't designed to do that. That's why we get all problems with reflux and digestive issues, because we're just bombarding the system. We need to have rests and allow the system to chill out. So sorry for sprouting on there a bit. I hope that answered your question. I better stop now and go back to you.
So just to summarize what you're saying, like if I understand correctly, are you saying that like canola oil is bad and that soy is bad for you?
Yeah,
That's sarcastic. Yeah, like obviously, yeah, we know.
Yes, absolutely. Those vegetable-based oils and those synthetic oils, yeah, we don't want to be using them. They use up a lot of antioxidants in our body. which we should have floating around in to protect our cells from cancerous changes and things like that. So ideally we don't want those sort of oils in our body, but things like the coconut oil is much better.
So
So
can we cook?
basically,
Can we cook with coconut oil, with avocado oil, with seed oil? Is it okay?
Coconut oil is probably one of your best ones, actually, and you get deodorized, deflavored coconut because it's one of the most stable oils that doesn't change its chemical composition when it's heated. So coconut is very good. Olive oil is okay as well.
What about I forgot Simon, the one fruit, it's a seed oil that I like.
Olive?
It's
No.
no, not the olive. It's another seed, another not a seed, sorry, another fruit. It's a fruit, like you eat it. Forgot the name.
palm,
No. Okay,
Palm oil,
I'm gonna look and I'm gonna tell
grape
you
seed,
after. Grape, yeah.
grape seed.
grapeseed oil.
I heard that's terrible.
Yeah, it's not as stable as your
Okay,
coconuts and your olive oils when you're heating. Yeah.
okay.
Walnut oil's another good one, full of vitamin E.
So, so basically every single ingredient in Woolsworth is has all these seed oils, all these preservatives, all these chemicals, and that's a huge problem because people think they have, a choice, and they do, but it's much harder for them to, and at least they think that it's more difficult to make wiser choices and to invest in themselves and buy higher quality foods. And I want to segue into a problem that I used to face that I think you have a lot to offer, is that when I had these symptoms of low energy and high cravings and PTSD, and I was just exhausted, like I was a bad case of that. There's no way I could have really properly taken care of myself. I was, in survival mode, anxious all the time. It was very difficult. So for somebody like me that, amongst other things, has serious dopamine issues and motivation issues, what else can I do besides eating better?
Besides eating better. Well, I think obviously it has to start there. You've got to address that period. But one of the challenges people like you would have is those cravings, and it sets up a vicious cycle where you eat the rubbishy food, your sugar levels go up, and then they crash down, but they crash down lower than the normal level should be. So they go under your baseline. And what happens when the sugar goes under there, your adrenaline starts kicking in. And adrenaline actually helps take sugar out of storage and releases it into the bloodstream to keep you alive and stable because it's gone below what it should be. But adrenaline comes on with all that anxiety and irritability and aggressiveness. So you constantly up and down. So you've got to address that. So protein, what you've done is awesome. Protein's really, really stabilizing. It keeps your feet on the ground. And we don't ever eat enough. Generally speaking, no one eats enough protein. And a little rule of thumb is if you think of your palm, without your fingers, just your palm, the thickness and the size, if you can eat that 3 times a day in protein, then that will give you a really nice founding start to stability. The next step is taking out some of those foods that you have, that you're eating, that you're responding badly to, but directly substituting them with a product that will do functionally the same thing as you're doing. So, i.e., if it's bread and you're having it in a sandwich, we want to allow a consistent habit to be undertaken. Because if we just say, all right, from now on, you're going to cut out this, you're going to drink water and you're going to do handstands at night time. That's your complete change of diet that's going to happen. No one will stick to that. So what we need to do is say, all right, what are you eating? Let's just substitute. Let's take out the bad stuff and put back in functionally something that provides the same outcome for you. So if it's bread, you substitute it with a keto bread, a bread that's based in seeds and not grain, because the grains are going to cause the problems. If it's sugar that you're adding to sweeten your foods or your drinks, we substitute that again with xylitol or stevia or erythritol. Some of these they're natural sweeteners that they don't go through the same pathways and stimulate the insulin like sugar does. So again, you can have that enjoyable taste. You can continue to do your same habits. We're just substituting those foods to make it super easy for you to stick to those habits. Yes, there's going to be some taste changes and there's going to be some textural changes, but by supporting your same habits, we're not going to get too much pushback from you. We're going to make it a much easier transition. So if we can just substitute the foods that aren't good, continue the same concept of those foods, but substitute them. And if you look in the supermarkets, there's more and more of this good stuff coming out nowadays. You know, there's bread substitutes, there's ketogenic breakfast cereals, there's milks that don't have sugar in them. There's a whole bunch of alternatives that will make it so much easier for you to eat a healthy diet without feeling like you're missing out on stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah, awesome. So it's mainly food, and like it's mainly food. We have to go back to what is more natural to us and healthy for us. So maybe if I could get some feedback about what I'm doing lately. Like I barely eat any bread. I try not to because I know that like I see it as poison. Basically, it's just so bad. Because I know that the grain, even if after whether they spray it or not, it's like genetically modified to be toxic for insects and and for us as well. So I try not to touch that. And what I'm doing now is I'm trying to eat a lot of whole foods. So lentils and sweet potatoes as my carb of choice, because it's like really low on calories and it tastes amazing. I love it. Easy to cook. And one thing I've noticed, I don't know, like as I feel better, like I read also somewhere that there's a correlation, but like I'm opting for more spicy options. I don't know if this has got anything to do with it. And I read somewhere that there's a correlation between how spicy your food is and testosterone levels. So I don't know if you even know anything about this, but yeah, what do you think about what I'm doing right now for my health, and what would you suggest that I do next?
So you're eating sweet potato. What else? Just run me through a basic breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Yeah. So I have a goal of eating. I don't remember the amount, but I measure everything I eat, the calories and the macros, and I think it's around 100 or 300 grams of protein a day. I can't remember. I think it's like 280, something like that. So I have this protein option that I cook like once every 2 days, and I just throw that protein on whatever on these healthy carbs. Maybe sometimes brown rice, not always, because I know that also has some levels of toxicity. Sweet potatoes, normal potatoes, sometimes pumpkin. Sometimes I'll opt out of protein of the carbs, and I'll just cook some veggies like broccoli. I try. That keeps me full and I feel great and I enjoy it. So that's about it.
Awesome.
Like I just have like some meatballs now. Like I made them yesterday, beef mixed with eggs, cooked them in like a tomato sauce, and that's what I have now.
Perfect, mate. No, that sounds good. What I usually recommend is to optimize your energy and to minimize your weight and to for the mental focus things. Actually, on my website, I've got a sample diet if anyone wants to see it. It's actually a business growth diet. So I designed it based on getting more out of your business day, which is the same thing as just getting more energy, right? And mental focus. But so for breakfast, personally, I'll tell you what I do just to see if it sort of aligns with what you would consider doing. I've been doing the intermittent fasting as well, so for a few years now. So I don't eat breakfast. I don't eat until about 2 p.m. So I just allow the digestive system to rest over that time. But don't worry, after that I go nuts and I absolutely make up for lost time, just gorging myself. So for me, it's all about actually not the volume and the calories that you're eating, but it's more about what I'm eating. And it means I can really enjoy myself, and I don't have to measure the quantities of food that I'm eating, as long as it's the right food. And it's very hard to gain weight if you're eating the right foods. It's very easy to gain weight if you're eating the wrong foods, and then you have to be more specific with your calories. So around lunchtime or 2 o'clock, I'll eat a bowl of my really daggy seeds. So I'll eat that, and then I will snack on a little bit later on the day. I have these seed crackers and I've put some avocado or some sliced nitrate-free meat on top of that, or some tuna. And then for dinner, I'll just do protein and veg. So very simple. So it'll be any sort of protein: fish, eggs, meat, chicken, any red meat, whatever, and veggies. So usually broccoli and cauliflower or beans and something like that. So that's the good thing about eating this way is it's actually very easy to do, even when you're going out. So you can go out to a restaurant and you can pretty much always, I mean, I guess I go out quite a bit, or get home deliveries of meals, and I can always eat. There's always options that you can have without the carbohydrates. So you can get stir fry without rice. You can get lots of different options without the bread, without you can have a burger without the bun. You just have to start looking at things a bit differently. And you actually touched on a really good point there before, Simon, about you don't eat bread because you see it as poison. And that's how I train our guys to actually see, because there's so much connotations of like when it comes to sugar and chocolate or alcohol, people build these amazing thought patterns around how amazing they taste, and you see their eyes sort of water and their taste buds start drooling the moment they're talking about something like this. What we have to do is reshape the connotations and re-anchor things that go with that in a more negative outcome. So you see bread as being a poison, and so do I. I see Coca-Cola or sugar as being so dangerous, so toxic, that if someone brings me the most spectacular Instagrammable cake and puts it in front of me, I can look at it without any hesitation and go, no, I'm good, thanks, I'll give that one a miss. And in my background, I'm thinking, Jesus, if I ate that, could you imagine what my pancreas would do now? Could you imagine that 5 minutes of enjoyment followed by those 2 days of recovery that I'm going to have to endure, that I'm going to be off my game, that I'm not going to be mentally focused, that I'm going to be tired for? Hell no, I'm not doing that. So it becomes a no-brainer. And that's, I think, what you've already started doing by the sounds of it with bread. And you've just got to get that. So you build up this massive negativity, totally dissuading you from any of those habits that you want to break, be it going to the pub or be it any habit that you want to break. As long as you can re-look at that and re-anchor things attached to that will encourage you not to repeat that same habit, it becomes a lot easier to break a habit like that.
Yeah, I think, I mean, we can totally relate. Me and Alex, we spent a year in Bali, and we really worked on ourselves, tried to get healthy, and without trying, as we did inner work, we just started to look at food very differently. It changed without us actively doing it. So I can think of myself before starting all this process. Yeah, I would like really, I would look at, pancakes, cookies, stuff like that, and I wanted it. and it's way more gross now. Like
Awesome.
naturally, like it is. But there's some sort of element here, and maybe Alex, you can add your perspective because you were really addicted to sugar, much more than I was, I think, in some ways. Um, but I think there's a huge element here of inner work and emotional healing, and most people have no clue what that is. So, Nathan, like to be like you, I think most people would want to look at a cake and think yuck, and really truly process and understand what it means to eat this cake. But most people, their cravings are higher than their logical mind, and that's by design, right? It's designed to get you to eat it. So yeah, Alex, do you have anything to share? I mean, you've changed so much your diet and your health.
Yeah, and just to go back to what you just said, like just yesterday, I was craving for sugar, and I'm thinking in my mind, which is the least worst cake I can have? And I went to three different. I say, okay, this one not good, then this one not good, then this one, and at the end, I didn't eat anything because I was thinking I'm gonna eat it, it's not gonna be good for me. But yeah, I used to be a pastry chef, and I didn't even care about my health. Even before I was a pastry chef, I was eating McDonald's like 2 or 3 times a day. And then I went into pastry, and then I started eating sugar. Everything I was making, everything I was tasting, it contained sugar, right? Even sometimes I wouldn't eat for the service of the night, right? And I will just eat the desserts instead. So I gained like 18 kilo. And then I arrived in Bali and did some inner work and start to see and wanted to lose weight and start to see food like it's really poisonous. So I started to remove from my diet one thing at a time. I didn't go all in at once. So I said, okay, for 6 months, I'm not gonna touch any pizza. And then after that, when I was fine, after a few months, I said, okay, I'm gonna remove pasta. And so like for a year, I didn't eat any pasta, any pizza. And I keep going like this until I reducing progressively my addiction to sugar, to the point of today I eat maybe sugar like maybe twice a week maximum, and I don't even eat like something very sweet. I try to make it as less sweet as possible. So I still enjoy sometimes a bit of sugar. It's still a pleasure of mine, but yeah, I've reduced enormously, and I have lost like 18 kilos. So I was like 87 at my worst, and at my least I was 69, and now I am like 75. But I'm stabilized, and I'm 75 of muscle more than fat. So I'm quite healthy right now, and my goal actually is to eat a lot more protein and go to 90 kilo by 6 years from now, basically. So I like to be like
Nice.
90 kilo of basically muscle, mainly
yeah.
muscle, right? So this is a very, very difficult, I think, gonna be, because I will need to eat a lot. But yeah, that's how I want
Awesome.
to be, how healthy I want to be, basically.
One
Yeah.
last quick point, Alex, that if we trace back your addiction to sugar, it was, as you know, when you were much younger and life was very difficult for you. Your only joy, I know the stories, the only joy was to eat pastries and crepe and all
Yeah.
your French stuff.
So Simon and I, we had a business, and it was extremely stressful. We started at 22 years old in time opening a business without knowing anything. And I will eat sugar all the time, just because that was the only thing that was calming me down and makes me happy. That was my only pleasure in life, like to eat sugar like all day, basically.
Yeah.
So this is very addictive. And when you're trying to survive, this is the best way. But I mean, the best way. That's the tool I had. It's not the best, but that's the tool I had at this time. What would you suggest that I could have done differently instead of just eating sugar? And I was
Yeah.
under an enormous amount of stress.
So people go for that sugar hit because it's a dopamine hit, and we get back into the dopamine side of things. So it's a little bit of light relief for all the stress when all you're going through is stress and anxiety. And people go for that, the short hit, the immediate hit. It's like a drug. It's as addictive as a drug, probably more. It's a bigger epidemic in my mind than smoking. Sugar is just incredibly addictive. So people just go for that quick high. It just gives them a little bit of comfort. It stimulates dopamine. Dopamine is it's a neurotransmitter in your brain that makes you feel good. So we all want to feel good. But the good news is there's other more productive ways of stimulating that dopamine other than going for that negative short-term hit of dopamine, which ends up crashing you down way further than you were before. It's like social media. We all know we're getting that dopamine hit out of social media. It's recreational drugs are the same. They stimulate dopamine and you feel really good. But the good news, as I say, is there's other ways to do it that you can consistently hit dopamine levels throughout the day, exactly like you were doing with your pastry and sugars regularly throughout the day, but do it in a more productive, more healthy way of structuring that leaves you on a high, not leaves you on a low. So there's a bunch of dopamine stimulating things. One of the things that I really enjoy is actually, when I say enjoy it, I should define that. I'm not sure that I do enjoy it, but I enjoy the outcomes, the benefits from it. It's cold water therapy and ice baths. So that is incredibly powerful. It's becoming more and more popular. We set a Guinness World Record for ice baths last year. And it's something that I do every day. I'll go down to the beach, summer or winter, 0 degrees, whatever it is, I'll jump in the ocean, freeze my butt off, and then get out 3 minutes later. And it is the most powerful thing for increasing your dopamine levels. I mean, we're talking 200 to 300%, even some studies say up to 400% increase in your dopamine. Now, if you are freezing your bum off in freezing cold water, it's very hard to be depressed. It's very hard to be anxious at that time because all you're thinking about is, whew, this is cold, right? So it is phenomenal for breaking our patterns of mental stress, and it's something that you can factor in. And so that's just one thing, but a very, very high stimulator of dopamine. Other thing is fasting and taking control of your diet, because when we're in that state of ketosis, of really, really stable blood sugar levels, we naturally produce more dopamine, so you feel good for longer. So doing literally, Alex, the opposite of what you were doing with your pastries and your sugars is another way of actually achieving the same outcomes, but more long-term. Things like listening to uplifting music is also a dopamine stimulant of up to about 15%. You get a little boost from that. Stuff that makes you feel good, with a positive, happy sort of a beat. Not country western. It's the opposite, has the opposite effect on you. So they don't do that one. What else is good? So eating healthy, high protein is good, low carbs, making love. It's very, very powerful. It's a dopamine stimulant. So that's another good one. Laughter,
Working out.
comedy. Which one, mate?
Working out.
Working out, absolutely.
Exercise. Yeah.
Exercise is fantastic, and particularly endurance-based exercises, ones that really push your body. So, like a long run. But even if you're unfit, you don't have to do that long run. Even a short run, if you're really unfit, will be enough to stimulate dopamine, because for you, it's more intense than someone who is an athlete, right? So any sort of exercise, absolutely fantastic. And when you stack all these dopamine things throughout the day, you're getting little hits of high throughout your day, and it keeps you in an amazing mood. Being around people that uplift you, having a chat with you guys today is uplifting, right? So surrounding yourself with people who uplift you is really important, and distancing yourself from negativity, distancing yourself from bloody news on the TV. It's so depressing and so so stressful, it brings you down. So energetically, the more we can bring up our energy and feel good and surround ourselves with happiness, but in a non-destructive way, so in a non-sugar sort of a way, then you can just get these amazing hits throughout the day and keep yourself really, really high. It can make a big difference.
So what I really like about you, Nathan, is like the thing that I normally work with is the inner world. It's deep rooted trauma. It's feelings that are unresolved, stressors, things that cause us anxiety. And people are, you know, a lot of people struggle to understand these kinds of things and to address them and fix them. And I see you doing exactly the same thing. Like, you know, it's all interconnected, but you're like more dealing with like material surface level solutions, as in change your diet, work out, you know, and yeah, it's more relatable than my stuff.
They're both
But
so
it's all
important, mate.
connected. Yeah.
They're so
Yeah.
important. And I've just spoken about that, the biochemical changes that you can make, that you can actually change your biochemistry within 2 days. It doesn't take long. It can make massive differences in your energy and your mood. But your stuff is equally important. We've got to work on the mindset because, like we were saying, a drug is just going to fix one bit, but what about the rest that's all interactive, like interrelated? Your stuff is vitally important for the mindset because that's a
Also,
big part.
I think it's important to point out that when you do emotional work and mindset work, it's also regulate your hormones and everything in your body. So that's why it's so important. Did you know that, Nathan?
Sure, the biochemistry, absolutely.
Right.
Actually, if you've got time for a quick story, I'll give you a really good example of that.
Please. Yeah.
There was a study that was done on the mindset side of things, and there was two ladies who did a weight loss program, because this is really obviously related to the stuff I do with weight loss in Indonesia. But these two ladies did this weight loss program, and they were really good for the first 5 days. Both of them were great Monday to Friday. And then come the weekend, they had massive blowouts. You know, they went out, they drank heaps of alcohol, they ate pizza, all sorts of stuff. They interviewed the first lady, and she said, "Oh, it was, it was really, really bad. I totally failed. I stuffed up. 2 days of partying. It's just typical of me. This is how I live my life. I repeat the same mistakes over and over again." They measured her oxytocin levels after this interview,
What
and
is
after the
oxytocin?
Sorry, oxytocin is another neurotransmitter in the brain. It's the warm and sort of warm and fuzzy, feel-good hormone. When you're born, you produce lots of oxytocin. When your mum gives you a cuddle, you feel safe. That cuddle stimulates that skin contact, stimulates that oxytocin. We feel warm, we feel protected, and it's a really important hormone. So they measured this hormone after she had done this. And I'll tell you what the results afterwards. Then they interviewed the second lady who'd done the diet for 5 days, also had a massive blowout. And they said, "So what do you think? How did you go?" And the second lady said, "Oh, it was phenomenal. Those first 5 days were absolutely insane. I smashed it. I did exactly what I should have done. And I got the results that I wanted to do. Oh, yeah, there was a couple of days that I had a little bit of a blowout. But those 5 days, I tell you, I was absolutely on fire. I nailed it." So totally different mindset of one looking at the failure, one looking at it as a success. Exactly the same scenario. The first lady, they measured the oxytocin levels. They were almost non-existent. The levels were so low in her bloodstream that it barely registered. The second lady, that was so proud of herself for the 5 days, her oxytocin levels were through the roof. So this is a biochemical hormone. And what it did from there on, this lady that beat herself up for the 5 days and saw herself as a total failure, again, your mindset, like you were talking about, Alex, she went on to, she didn't go back to dieting. Yet the second lady, whose oxytocins were really high, that gave her a feedback system where she was really proud of herself. And becoming proud of herself, her dopamine levels then really rose up to the occasion. And dopamine is that feel-good hormone that says, hey, well done, you've done well. Why don't we repeat this same thing? Because I like a hit of dopamine, and my body's going to push me to the direction that that dopamine gets released again, because I like how that feels. So she went on to do phenomenal results with her diet and stick to it, and got better and better all the time because her dopamine levels were high. And it comes exactly back to what you just said, Alex, is the mindset has a huge ability to, how we interpret things has a huge ability to change our biochemistry, which then can change our habits and create more positive outcomes for us. So totally resonate with what you've said. Yeah.
Yeah, and the story make complete sense also for me and Simon. Like we can both recognize ourselves in that. I'm the one that is a very good mindset, always happy, always on my goals, or my my habits are always good. Everything is good, and I love this. And because I love this and give me dopamine hit every time, so I do it more and more and more. I never stop, right? But Simon is the opposite. So in the past, he will feel guilty. He will feel all this. So he will not get the dopamine hit. So it will not be motivating for him to to do the habits or keep going, right? So that's why the
Yeah,
mindset is so important to work on.
it's true. I can confirm. But like even this weekend, I had a really good week and I cheated a little bit. But the next day, because I'm counting all my calories and I have it measured, the next day I easily compensated. So I enjoyed my indulgence, didn't get depressed, didn't get, wasn't put down. And the next day I'm like already back on track and doing well. And since I started this, I'm just getting better and better. I'm installing better habits. It's a process. It's not overnight. I'm drinking more water. I am getting higher quality sleep. I am, raising the level of activity and challenging myself. And yeah, sometimes I relapse a little bit. I think it's part of the process. And in the past, I used to beat myself up and get even really depressed and feel ashamed. Now I'm like, fuck it. I'll just eat less tomorrow.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. That's, if you're going to go down that path, you got to enjoy it and allow your biochemistry to benefit from it rather than be destructive like we've just demonstrated. So great. Do it. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Nathan, I think we can summarize or wrap it up. It was really, really interesting talking with you. And I actually feel even more inspired. Like you basically confirmed everything that I'm doing, plus gave me a few good tips. I'm thinking now, okay, I'm gonna try to lower gradually even more the carbs and I'm gonna pick them a bit better and I'm gonna gradually raise some of my veggie levels and maybe add a few more nuts and seeds into my diet. So that was for me really interesting, amazing talk. And if you have your program and you have so many businesses, but if somebody is interested in maybe working with you or learning more from you, how can they do that easily?
Yeah, love to connect. A bit of a business junkie myself, as in, I just love chatting business and health and bringing it all together. But you can connect on LinkedIn under Nathan Baws, or my website, come directly to nathanbaws.com. Always happy to connect with like-minded people and particularly in the business growth side of it, happy to connect there.
I have one quick question that I didn't understand, because you said in the beginning that we should not eat carbs, right? Or I'm mistaken.
Not too many carbs. So
Okay.
yeah, you get your carbs through ideally non-grain based carbs like
So
veggies.
sweet potato is good, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sweet potato with the skin on it in particular is a little bit higher in the fiber, and that releases it slower into your bloodstream. But yeah, great.
okay, great,
Yeah.
awesome. That's all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I steamed them. I don't know if that's probably
Healthy.
yeah.
Very healthy. Yeah, that sounds good.
See, Alex, I told you. No,
You're on the
No,
right
I knew,
track, guys.
I knew because Zina told me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lovely.
Awesome, Nathan. Thank you so much. It was amazing.
My pleasure, Simon. Thanks, Alex. Lovely
Thank
to
you,
connect,
Nathan.
guys.
Well, that was awesome. Keep optimizing your health, mindset, and business. Be awesome and make business awesome.